Hello friends, welcome to UGC EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Rangeen Pallav Tripathi. I am a faculty of law at National Law University, Odisha. Today, we will be discussing the module on judicial limitation in death penalty sentencing. The basic objectives of this module are the following. To appreciate the severity of the death sentence in the scheme of criminal justice system. To understand the controls exercised by the legislature in the imposition of the death sentence. To comprehend the judicial principles governing the imposition of death sentence in India. To understand the doctrine of the rarest of rare cases. To have an understanding of the aggravating factors in awarding of death sentence. To have an understanding of the mitigating factors in the award of death sentence. Death penalty is the most severe punitive sanction which is conceptualized under any criminal justice system. Taking away the life of an individual is the most violent act which is conceivable in any scheme of punishment. Also, when a death sentence is enforced, it becomes an irrevocable act on the part of the state which can never again be corrected. When an innocent person is imprisoned for an offence which he or she did not commit, it is still possible to correct the error on the part of the state by unearthing any evidence which may not have been discovered earlier or correcting an earlier erroneous appreciation of the produced evidence. The state cannot return to the person the time already spent in imprisonment, but it still remains possible to spare the person further agony. However, once a sentence of death penalty is executed, the punishment is not revocable. Thus, neither the legislature nor the judiciary are generally keen on awarding death penalty at every possible opportunity. The overwhelming ideology which seems to prevail is that the imposition of death penalty should be as limited as possible. Now we should first discuss the legislative limitations on death penalty. The first control on the imposition of death penalty is exercised by legislature itself by limiting the number of offences in relation to which a sentence of death can be imposed. Thus, we have a severely restricted category of offences for which a sentence of death may be imposed. Even when the law permits the imposition of death sentence, it usually provides the option of an alternative punishment which may be imposed in place of death sentence. Death sentence is never the only punishment prescribed in relation to any offence. For example, Section 302 of the Indian Penal Code, which prescribes the punishment which can be imposed if a person is found guilty of culpable homicide amounting to murder, mandates that a person so convicted can be punished with either death or with imprisonment for life. Under the Indian Penal Code, culpable homicide amounting to murder and waging war against the government remain the only two offences which are punishable by death. Thus, the sparing use of the punishment of death by the legislature operates as the first level of control in the imposition of death penalty. Next, we will be discussing the sentencing framework for the judiciary in relation to death penalty. Unlike in countries like England and United States of America, where there exists sentencing guidelines for the judges in relation to the sentence they can impose, there exists no evolved sentencing guideline in India. Apart from a couple of provisions in law where the minimum sentence has been prescribed, the judges in India exercise a relatively wide amplitude of discretion in terms of determining the appropriate sentence to be imposed in each case. However, there exists a statutory framework within which the judiciary exercises such discretion. In this context, it is important to understand what is called pre-sentence hearing. This particular provision of pre-sentence hearing is a requirement not simply in case of death sentence, but in all sentences which a court may seek to impose. Section 235, subsection 2 of the Code of Criminal Procedure 1973 provides that once a person has been convicted, the judge shall hear the convicted person on the question of sentence and then pass a sentence accordingly. Section 235, subsection 2 fulfills a crucial mandate of providing a meaningful platform for the court to consider the various relevant factors before determining the appropriate sentence in a given case. This provision is mandatory in nature and the court cannot avoid the same. It means that the court is bound to conduct a hearing on the question of sentencing before passing any sentence and cannot impose a punishment without having applied its mind on it. This mandate becomes even more important when the question pertaining to the imposition of death sentence is concerned. Section 354, Clause 3 of the Code of Criminal Procedure 1973 provides that whenever an offence is punishable with death or with imprisonment for life or for any particular number of years, and the court awards the sentence of death, the court must put on record the special reasons for imposing death sentence. It may be noted that generally every decision of the court is supposed to be reasoned decision and the court generally needs to justify the imposition of a sanction. However, Section 354, subsection 3 deals categorically with the imposition of death sentence and makes it obligatory for the court to explain the special reasons for choosing to impose the sentence of death when other punishments in the nature of imprisonment could also have been imposed. Now we get to the judicial limitations on death penalty. Though the judiciary in India has a wide discretion in terms of sentencing, the mandate of pre-sentence hearing and of special reasons for death sentence under Section 354 subsection 3 has provided the judiciary with the opportunity to develop its own parameters in terms of imposing the sentence of death. As there exists no legislative guidelines on the suitability of the award of death penalty, the judiciary has taken it upon itself to frame the dynamics of the limited circumstances in which it will generally award the death penalty. And this has given rise to the doctrine of rarest of rare cases. The most expressive and celebrated judicial limitation on the imposition of death sentence is the doctrine of the rarest of rare cases. This doctrine was established in the landmark case of Bachchan Singh versus State of Punjab. In this case, while upholding the constitutionality of death penalty, the court asserted that a sentence of death can be passed only in the rarest of rare cases. The court also emphasized that the underlying philosophy of Section 354, subsection 3 of the Code of Criminal Procedure prescribes life imprisonment to be the rule and death sentence to be the exception. In the words of the court, a real and abiding concern for the dignity of human life postulates resistance to taking a life through law's instrumentality. That ought to be done save in the rarest of rare cases when the alternative option is unquestionably foreclosed. The court refrained from setting forth definitive standards regarding imposition of death penalty. Firstly, the court felt that standardization of sentencing discretion is a policy issue which is within the jurisdiction of the legislature and not that of the judiciary. The court opined that when the legislature has not deemed it fit to standardize the discretionary process in death sentencing, there is no justification for the courts to substitute the role of the legislature. Secondly, the court felt that it is plainly impractical to confine the innumerable nuances and details of different cases into pre-formulated rigid principles of sentencing guidelines. This impracticability of setting definitive sentencing standards has been noted by the Supreme Court earlier as well in the case of Jagmohan Singh versus State of Uttar Pradesh. However, the court emphasized the need of having broad guidelines as distinguished from rigid sentencing standards to minimize the risk of arbitrary and unequal sentencing practices when it comes to the imposition of death penalty. It is the totality of such broad guidelines established by the Supreme Court of India in the case of Bachchan Singh and other cases which forms the foundation of the judicial approach towards the imposition of death penalty in any given case. Here, we need to understand what are the various relevant aggravating factors which have been noted by the courts. Aggravating factors can be described as such factors which aggravate the nature of the crime committed and justify the imposition of death penalty in given situations. In the case of Ediga Annamma versus State of Andhra Pradesh, the court has noted that the following factors may be relevant in determining the imposition of death sentence in a given case. The weapons used and the manner of their use, the horrendous features of the crime, the helpless state of the victims. In Bachchan Singh versus State of Punjab, the court indicated that the following factors may justify the imposition of death penalty in the absence of any other mitigating elements. When the convict has murdered the victim in a pre-planned, calculated and cold-blooded manner, when the murder involves extreme brutality, when the murder involves exceptional depravity, if the murdered person is a member of the armed forces, police force or a public servant and the murder was committed while he was on duty and in consequence of anything done or attempted to be done by him in lawful discharge of his duty. When the murdered individual is one who was acting in lawful discharge of his duties under section 43 of the Code of Criminal Procedure. When the murdered individual was a person who had rendered assistance to a magistrate or a police officer demanding his aid or requiring the assistance under section 37 or section 129 of the Code of Criminal Procedure. When the actions of the convict threaten the security of the state and society, public order and interests of the general public. In the case of Machi Singh versus State of Punjab, some more developments took place. The case of Machi Singh versus State of Punjab is a landmark case in the history of death sentencing in India, as it not only confirmed and consolidated the ruling in the case of Bachchan Singh, but also provided more enunciated guidelines when the court is confronted with the question of imposing the death sentence. The court held that the following factors are relevant in determining whether in a particular case death sentence should be awarded or not. Manner of commission of murder, motive for commission of murder, other social or socially abhorrent nature, antisocial or socially abhorrent nature of the crime, magnitude of crime, personality of victim of the murder, manner of commission of murder. According to the court, the manner in which murder is committed is extremely crucial to determining whether death sentence should be awarded or not. Thus, when the murder is committed in an extremely brutal, grotesque, diabolical or revolting manner, so as to result in intense and extreme indignation in the society, awarding of death sentence may be justified. The court also gave certain examples of the manner of commission of murder which will warrant such consideration. When the victim's house is set in fire in order to roast him alive, when the victim is subjected to inhuman acts of torture and cruelty in order to cause his death, when the body of the victim is cut into pieces or is dismembered. Next is motive for commission of murder. Apart from the manner in which a murder is committed, according to the court, the motive behind commission of the murder is also extremely important. When the motive behind the murder is depraved and mean, it may justify the imposition of death sentence. The court listed the following examples: murder committed for money or reward by hired assassin, murder committed to inherit property or gain control over property of person in relation to whom the murderer was in a dominant position, murder committed in course of betraying the motherland. The next element which the court considered and explained was antisocial nature of the crime. The court also noted that the consequences of the crime are not confined to the harm caused to the victim or the victim's immediate friend and family, but also has negative implications for the society. It forms a relevant consideration for the imposition of death sentence when a person of minority community is murdered not due to personal issues but out of social rivalry with a view to terrorize the members of such community. When a woman is killed in relation to demand for dowry. The next element which the court explained was magnitude of crime. The magnitude of crime is also a relevant consideration. Thus, when the number of people impacted by a crime is more, that is mass murders, family murders, etc., are committed, the same is relevant in deciding to impose the sentence of death. The other element which the court elaborated upon was personality of victim. It is also important to keep in mind the personality of the victim of a murder while determining the sentence of the murderer. Thus, in the following circumstances, the court felt it may be justified to impose the sentence of death. When the victim is an innocent child, incapable of causing any provocation, when the victim is a helpless woman, when the victim is a person helpless by reason of age or infirmity, when the victim is a person in relation to whom the murderer enjoyed a dominant position of trust, when the victim is a public figure known and loved for his service to the community and is murdered due to political reasons. Now, we shall discuss the judicial approach in interpreting aggravating factors. The courts have consistently held that it is not possible to have an exhaustive list of the aggravating factors which will justify the imposition of death sentence. The courts have avoided laying down strict categorization of aggravating factors. However, it was held in the case of Bachchan Singh that in order to fall under the description of aggravating circumstances which may form the basis of special reasons as contemplated under section 354 subsection 3 of the Code of Criminal Procedure, the circumstances must show aggravation of an abnormal or special degree. Thus, all irregular incidents or odd details cannot be classified as aggravating circumstances. There must be something particularly out of the ordinary in the circumstances to justify such a classification. Now, let's discuss the relevant mitigating factors. Mitigating factors are such elements present in the case which justify the imposition of a lighter sentence. In the context of death penalty, it refers to a set of circumstances which can justify avoiding the death penalty even if one or many of the aggravating factors are present in a case. In the case of Jagmohan Singh versus State of Uttar Pradesh, the court identified the following circumstances as justifying the levying of an lesser punishment: the minor age of the offender, the old age of the offender, when act done by order of a superior military officer, when act is done under provocation, when the offence was committed under a confluence of such circumstances and motivations that the same is unlikely to be repeated in the context of the offender, the state of health and the sex of the offender. In the case of Ediga Annamma versus State of Andhra Pradesh, the court has noted that the following factors may be relevant in avoiding the imposition of death sentence in a given case. When the murderer is too young or too old, when the person suffers from socio-economic, psychic or personal compulsions, if other convicted persons involved in the crime have received the benefit of imprisonment over death penalty, when the offence was committed without premeditation and under instigation, when the liability of the convict is constructive, as in liable under section 302 of IPC read with section 149. In Bachchan Singh versus State of Punjab, the courts have recognized the relevance of the following mitigating factors in avoiding the sentence of death: when the offence is committed under extreme mental or emotional disturbance, when the convict is too young or too old, the probability of the convict no longer being a continuing threat to the society, the probability of the convict being reformed or rehabilitated, when the convict acted with the belief that he was morally justified, when the convict was under duress or domination of another person, when the mental defect of the convict impaired his ability to assess the criminality of his conduct. Now let's discuss the judicial approach in interpreting mitigating factors. The Supreme Court, in the case of Bachchan Singh versus State of Punjab, has asserted that the approach of the court should primarily be to avoid a sentence of death, if the same is possible. In this context, the court advocated a liberal and expansive interpretation and application of the mitigating factors while considering the question of death penalty. The court emphasized that the scheme established under Section 354, subsection 3 clearly favors life imprisonment as rule and death sentence as the exception. Thus, there should be resistance on the part of the court to award death sentence, and an endeavor should be to award life imprisonment if there is any ground to do so. Now let's discuss how the assessment of factors, whether they are aggravating or mitigating, are essentially subjective in nature. As we have seen, the courts have sought to evolve broad guidelines on the combination of factors which must be considered by a judge before determining the award of death sentence. However, it must be noted that the courts have consistently maintained that the factors being listed by them in various cases are indicative in nature and not exhaustive. Not once has the court sought to propound that the list of aggravating or mitigating factors identified by it is exhaustive and definitive in nature. The court has noted that all information and factors which may justify the award of death sentence or which may justify avoiding the death sentence cannot be objectively enumerated and coldly calculated. The court has maintained that the circumstances of the case must be assessed in their totality and no quick conclusion can be reached about the appropriate sentence from the mere presence of any of the aggravating or mitigating factors in their isolation. Also, the consideration whether there exist special reasons for awarding death sentence or if the case falls under the category of rarest of rare cases is primarily a subjective assessment carried out by individual judges which is not capable of being confined to an objective uniformity. There has been stringent criticism of the inconsistent application of the rarest of rare doctrine, as the individual subjectivity of judges has invariably crept into their interpretation of the facts and in the assessment of the aggravating and mitigating factors. It is also firmly established that now the court is required to focus on both the crime and the criminal while determining the sentence of death. Focusing on the crime refers to the details of the manner in which the crime is committed, the purpose and motive with which the crime is committed, the identity of the victims, and other such particular details. Focusing on the criminal refers to the details of the offender, such as his social background, his economic circumstances, his family, and other such details. The court is not supposed to excessively rely on any one aspect and is expected to formulate its opinion on an overall assessment of all the relevant facts. Due to this inherent subjective factors involved in the determination of death sentence, where on the same set of facts one judicial mind might favor death penalty, whereas another judicial mind might not favor death penalty, the Supreme Court has stressed that in order to constitute a reasonable procedure to determine the desirability of death penalty, a minimum oral hearing should be considered indispensable when a convict has been awarded the death penalty and has filed a review. The court stressed on the irrevocable nature of the death penalty and emphasized the need to conduct an oral hearing even at the stage of review in order to uphold the right of life guaranteed by Article 21 of the Constitution of India. Now, in order to summarize this module, the following things should be kept in mind. Death penalty is the most severe sentence which can be awarded in a criminal justice system. The legislature itself keeps the option of death sentence in a strict and narrow category of offences. The foundation for the sentencing framework for the judiciary for death sentences is set forth by provisions of Section 235 subsection 2 and Section 354 subsection 3 of the Code of Criminal Procedure. Death sentence is to be awarded only in the rarest of rare cases and only as an exception to the general rule of life imprisonment. In considering whether a case falls under the category of rarest of rare cases, the court should consider all the aggravating and mitigating factors relevant in a case. In order to fall under the description of aggravating circumstances, which may form the basis of the special reasons for awarding the death sentence, the circumstances must show an aggravation of an abnormal or a special degree. The courts should have a liberal and expansive approach while interpreting the mitigating factors while considering the question of death penalty. The circumstances of a case must be assessed in their totality, and no quick conclusion should be drawn from mere presence of one aggravating factor or the mere presence or absence of another mitigating factor. The consideration of whether there exist special reasons for award of death sentence or whether the case falls under the category of rarest of rare cases is a subjective assessment, and it can vary and is not capable of having an objective uniformity. That would be all. Thank you.